All right, well, thank you for tuning in the video today. Today, we're going to talk about the Ram 2027 TRX. As you can see behind me, I did finally get one. This was an exact match to the one that I had ordered, but ended up having to pick this one up basically to my order was just staying in D. It wasn't getting built. And so I found this one and it was a match. So I picked this one up. And y'all, this truck does not disappoint. This truck is drives really good. I think, the Gen 1 TRX kind of felt a little bit more, it just felt a little heavier, a little more, the steering was a little heavier. The brakes were a little bit lighter. This truck, the braking, the steering, everything that you kind of had, if you've had the RHO, you would notice that this truck is basically all of the upgrades that the RHO got with the TRX engine. So I think the Ram engineers definitely nailed it on this truck. I have done some towing. I pulled my golf cart trailer with it the other day, and it did really well in tow mode. I will say that in the modes on it in auto, it does pretty good. It literally, you can tell it's set up a little bit more for economy in the auto drive mode because it's very low RPM shifts. It just, but it feels like it's got the power, and so it does fine in that. And if you get on it, it will move in auto, but definitely if you move it to sport mode, that's where this thing is just a beast. The supercharger whine to me is a little bit louder than the Gen 1. Don't know if they're going to come out with any more aftermarket intakes. We do know that Direct Connect is coming out with the Whipple. So in comparison to the Raptor R, that you can get that 900 plus horsepower, you're going to have that option on the TRX also. There was a chart that showed that they're releasing it for the Rumblebees, and you could see it over in the TRX category that it was highlighted that it's going to be available. Looks like that's probably going to be close to a $10,000 option if that's something you want, but it keeps your factory warranty. So overall, driving this thing, it is great. And I will say the exhaust tone on it, and I'm trying to bring some of the little bit more details to y'all about drivability. The exhaust tone on this truck when you're driving it in 7th and 8th is no drone in the cab. And so even when you're towing like a small trailer or something like that, and it's in 7th gear on the highway, you're running 1900 to 2100 RPM. There's not much drone in it, and it sounds really good. And so it's really quiet. So comparable to the RHO, super quiet in the cab. Now, if you're pulling something heavier, you get down in 6, and you do have some drone in the cab at 6. But to have that exhaust tone that you want, I like it because it's really tame and it's not irritating if you're going on a road trip. I think that Ram has done a great job getting that tone correct on the exhaust. This one behind me, I'll show y'all in a minute. I'll get up and walk around it. This one has the bead locks. It came with the bed cover, pretty much loaded out as much as you could get it. It was a 111 MSRP, I think. And then y'all are welcome to ask any questions if y'all want in the question box. I'll try to answer those for y'all. That's why I did a live today. But I did the Rogue off-road leveling kit on this one. It's the 1.25 inch, and it's actually perfectly level with that. The back measures the exact height as the front. I think from the top of the tire to the fenders, 8.25 all the way around. It's the same kit that I ran on my RHO. So it looks like it does the same, same weight, whatever the difference is. It didn't make a difference. It leveled my RHO perfect. It leveled this one perfect with the 1.25 inch. I did put the Timber Grove airbags on there and my AirLogic air pump. The 900-pound payload on this truck definitely is. This truck is just heavier than the last generation, so your payload's pretty small on it. So if you're going to hook up a trailer, it's got some tongue weight, something you're probably going to have to pay attention to. This morning, after I got the leveling kit on, I went and did the alignment on it. And again, y'all, these trucks are very high tech, so you just need to make sure you go to a dealer, you go to somebody that can handle these things. So when I did the Rogue leveling kit, I literally took it into Ram, and you have to do a ride height calibration. I talk about this on the Raptors and everything. When you're paying for these trucks with these shocks, you need to go do a ride height calibration so that the truck knows that your sensors are on 0. Because if it senses those up high, it's going to close those valves on the shock, and it gives an extremely different ride. So when I put the leveling kit on, drove it to town, I felt it. It was pretty firm. Went and got that done, back to where we were stock. So A lot of people just put the leveling kits on and they don't do that. If you've got a Ford Raptor or 1500 TRX, whatever, go get the calibration done, because it's important on these systems when you have these shocks that you pay a lot of money for, to make sure that that's calibrated, because the truck needs to know all the sensors are zeroed out with no weight. And when the tech does it at the dealership, you literally step out of the truck and it calibrates the way you have it. So don't leave anything heavy in the bed. Don't do any of that. And then on the alignment, because you have hands-free driving, it's another step that needs to be done. If you do a leveling kit, you go do the alignment, you need to have, it's called a rack reset, because these have the hands-free driving. And basically you can make the mechanical line up, but then you need to do the rack reset so that it's reading 0 degrees when it's in line and all of those things. So just some of the things that you'll need to look at if you want it to drive good, if you want it to ride good. Y'all, I mean, iBot makes kit for these things too. The 2.7, I think it's a 2.7 and 1.5 kit. I've put that on one of my trucks before. That rode really good also. So there's options out there for whatever you're looking for, but there's a lot of things that just try to do it once and do it right, y'all. On tires, I've ran the 37 1350 BFG KM3s. I like them because they're 78 pounds, and I like a 1350 on the stock wheel. A lot of us, the Mickey Thompson is one of probably the best tires on the market right now for TRX, RHO. As far as all weather, more of an all terrain with an aggressive look, you'll find those tires that are highly recommended. But in an 18, you're only going to get to a 35. So if you want to go to 37, you're going to need to move to a 20-inch wheel, something like that. For me, what I'm going to do on this one is, I've ran the Cam 3s because they were 78 pounds. They ride good, they drive good, but once they get some miles on them, they do have a little bit more road noise. And so this time I'm actually going to the Nitto Ridge Grappler. I've ran those on my HDs before. They're a good looking tire, a little bit more all-terrain, but I can get the 37 1350, but I'm going to pay the penalty in weight on those tires. Those tires are 89 pounds. So it's going to cost me a little bit in fuel economy. If I'm recommending stuff, if you like a 1250, the RT Trail, you can get a 37 1250 RT Trail Toyo. Those are really lightweight. I think those are in the 70s for a 37 1250. So, just always consider weight when you're doing that with these trucks. But all of these trucks, the RHO and this new TRX, y'all, when it hits 8th on the highway, plenty of power. Like, even pulling my trailer, it was in 8th gear and it was holding 8th, no problem, with the stock tires. And I've got a pretty good sized golf cart and a pretty good sized trailer, and it was doing just fine with that. So, like I said, the exhaust tone's really good, 7th and 8th, pretty quiet, no drone. But when you would downshift to 6, you definitely know you've got the V8 under the hood. But that's what you're paying for. And we'll talk a little bit about the fuel economy. Like I said, if y'all got any questions, welcome to ask them. And even after the live, I'll go back and check this video, and if y'all got something that y'all want to know about. But it looks like everything from the RHO, literally the shocks were the same when I put the leveling kit on. So your iBox springs are probably going to be the same. Your Rogue leveling kit's going to be the same. Most of those things will be the same. One of the things, if you do the large one, I do recommend, I think Zona Motorsports makes extended links. If you're going to go to that 2.7, you can order those. I don't have links. I'm not associated. But if you're going to go anything over about 1.5 inches, I recommend getting the Zona Sports. They're just a little bit longer links because you're going higher. Like I said, payload on this truck, I think mine's 900 and something, but mine had the bed cover. It had everything. So it was probably as heavy as you could get. Overall, sounds good, drives good, the power's good. Now we're going to talk about fuel economy. Okay. I would say, I'm not even going to really give you numbers because it's hard to say what your numbers really are. My average with idling and stuff in this is probably 10. My average with idling and stuff doing the same driving in my RHO is probably about 13 and a half. Do you notice it? You do notice it. It does drink more fuel. Where I could probably go 4.5 to 5 days on a tank of fuel, I'm probably doing more like 2.5 to 3 days. And I haven't really been over 3,500 RPM with it. I've been trying to be pretty easy on it. So I have been driving it pretty easy, getting that mileage. Okay. But I do live on the highway, so I'm doing a bunch of, 78 mile an hour driving. But it's a really nice truck. I think that Ram has nailed it again. Everything that I loved about the RHO, y'all know I own 3 of those. was carried over to this truck, and I feel like it's the RHO with the bigger motor and the braking. And I'm going to shout out to Barry on this with C-Tech. When he did the drive event that Ram had, he said the steering felt lighter and the brakes felt like they were better. And I 100% agree with that. It's more like a better boost in the brakes. Like, you barely touch these brakes, they're on and you can feel them, where before it was a little bit lighter. So I would say the brakes are even a little bit better on this one than the RHO. And the steering feel is a little bit lighter, which is nice because when you're driving it, it's really easy to turn the wheel. It feels like you're driving a car. So pretty impressed with what they've done with the suspension on that. The red stitching I like in the interior. I'm not real sure about the grill. If I'm going to maybe black this out right here and just order the RHO letters. But everything else on the truck has been great. Let me pick this up real quick, kind of walk that around and show you the best I can with the laptop, y'all. But it's the bead locks. That's got the leveling kit. My tires should be here tomorrow. This one had the hood decal. You don't get the screen anymore with the TRX. I actually like having the cubby better. I put the EGR roll track on it. It's a power bed cover. And then you can see you've got the new logo here on the tailgate. But overall, like I said, it didn't disappoint at all. I've been impressed with this truck. I've got 700 miles on it, and it's done everything I've asked for it. And like I said, the supercharger tone, that's what you're paying for. And it's really nice. And then that light's going to come on, of course, because I have proximity lighting on. Turn it this way. So if you're interested, go find one. And then we're going to talk about the pricing on them. Finding a dealer that has one of these at MSRP that you can pick up is a pretty difficult task right now. And it's a shame because they're going to mass produce these trucks. And so you should be able to go pick one up for MSRP, but I'm not telling you that you can. The customer orders are picking up. We do get a spreadsheet of what the builds are going through the plant every day. So if you're what we call a 4EA build, it's looking like they're building about 8 to 12 of those a day. So if you have an order in, you should start seeing some movement on that pretty soon. I know that the truck that I actually ordered has been in D status, and it's been in D status for a while now. Lock this, maybe it'll quit doing that. It's been in D status for a while now. It has not moved to D1. My VIN that I ordered was 2066. And so anyway, we'll see if that truck moves. I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. I'll keep y'all updated. But I definitely want to do a live today. Tomorrow, I'll go through the full build. We'll do a full walk around, getting the tires on it. Hopefully, they'll be here tomorrow morning. And just, like I said, do a full walk around like we do on all of my trucks. But overall, no disappointment, zero regret. I love the truck. I mean, it's really nice. RHO, yes, I traded my RHO in on it. The MMR on the RHOs has dropped significantly since the TRXs came out. So if you are going to trade yours in, you might want to be prepared for that. You might want to go look up your KBB and see what it says on that. I was kind of surprised on how much those RHOs had dropped. I mean, I've traded in 2 of them and they've held their value pretty good. But since the TRX came out, yes, it is a daily driver for me. I drive this truck every day. Like I said, I've got 700 miles on it, and I bought it Thursday. So I put a pretty good amount of miles on the truck. And like I said, you go to the gas pump pretty often. We'll see if it breaks in a little bit, maybe gets a little better. But I'm going to throw some 37s on it tomorrow, so we'll probably make that a little bit worse, especially 89-pound 37s for sure. Like I said, if you got any questions, drop them down here. I agree. I think the RHO is an amazing truck. For the money, if you're looking, is there an extreme performance difference between the two? And I would tell you a little bit, 85 to 90, 95 is probably a little bit faster than the TRX. But that RHO's got some pretty good power off the line. It's got a really good 0 to 60, and I really like the 0 to 60 in that RHO. And y'all know I had the Raptor R, and I really liked the Raptor R, but I just felt like its 0 to 60 was not good for me for the daily. I mean, it's a 5.2, but it's more like two-stroke power, and it's a beast when you're in it. Like that Raptor R, when you floor it, it's gone. Like it runs like a rocket. And so, some of the things, it depends on what your driving is. I don't ever spend my life to the floor in a truck punching it, and in that scenario for me, like if I was buying another Raptor, I would buy the EcoBoost Raptor over the R, believe it or not, because I like having that 0 to 60. And that's where this 6.2 really gives you a little bit better 0 to 60. And I'm not talking like race times. I'm talking about you take off from a red light to the next, just driving through town and not feeling like you're having to really get in it. You just barely push that gas pedal and it's moving, and it's got that power. And that's why I kind of like that inline six in the RHO, because it gave you that little bit of, that I would say the RHO is probably a little jumpier and a little bit better on the 0 to 60 here on just your smooth acceleration and your takeoff. But it doesn't whine like this. This definitely has a nice whine to it. Somebody said the RHO can be tuned easier. It's actually a whole nother level, and that is correct. There's a Cat 6. There's all kinds of things out there, and we know that the RHO and that inline six, it's got some forced internals on that high output, and they built that engine tough on the bottom end. And, in comparison, I'd probably go back to say when they built some of the first Cummins diesels, right? They overbuilt the bottom end of that. And that's why you see, like at Roadkill Nights, you've got these people literally pumping the fuel and the boost to these inline sixes, and they're just putting out massive horsepower just because I think they built the bottom end correct on these Hurricanes. But money wise, if the TRX is going to put you in a financial strain, that RHO is a very, very good comparison. I don't, besides the supercharger whine, I don't think I'm missing much when you compare the two trucks. Plus the RHO has 12 to 1,400 pounds of payload because, the engine's lighter. But definitely I wouldn't shy away from an RHO at all. And, I think you can still get 10, 12, maybe even 13 off on those. So, you're talking about going and pick out level 1 that's got massage seats. You can get everything in that truck, and you're literally paying, let's say this truck stickers at, I think one of the most loaded out RHOs is somewhere around 90 to 91. And so, if you can go get that truck for 78, 79, that's a significant difference. You're basically getting the same truck without the V8. And the one thing about the 27 is we're not getting the 10-year 100,000, or we haven't heard anything about that on the powertrain on these. So I'm probably going to get an extended warranty on the TRX because, on the RHO, you didn't have to worry about it. You got the 10-year 100,000 on the 26 RHO. You got a full powertrain warranty. When you put a value on that, that's probably a $4,000 to $5,000 extended warranty value that you're getting if you pick up a 26 RHO today. Somebody says they agree with me, just not a V8 guy. And I agree. The inline six, it's a good truck. I would not be disappointed to be in an RHO, and the mileage is definitely better too. And one thing I will say is, they say you're supposed to run premium in those. I think as long as you're not out beating on them in the desert, running, 100, 110 degree ambient and flooring it. I put a lot of regular unleaded in my RHOs and never had any problems. And there's a huge price difference between those two. Now with this one, you're going to have to run premium in it 100%. Of course, that you do what you want to do in your own trucks, but I'm going to run premium in this one. So you're sitting here almost at 460, 470 a gallon when regular unleaded is 380. And my RHOs never cared. They drink the regular unleaded, no problem. Never had any issues. But, that's really about it. If anybody's got anything else they want to ask, like I said, tomorrow when I get the tires on, I'll do like a full video, a full walk around talking about it. 10% gas mileage. Yeah, I think those turbo trucks, if you're going to do any towing or you're doing any high RPM stuff, I think they really do like the premium, and I think you're going to get a lot better efficiency out of them. But, the V8 got to have the premium. So, and by the way, C-Tech's got a bunch of videos with the Hurricane, doing towing, doing all those things. And, a lot of us YouTubers ended up with those RHOs, and zero regrets on that truck too. I actually, when I walked away from it, missed it a little bit, but when I heard the supercharger in this one, I was like, see ya. So anyway, like I said, I hope some of this has helped some of y'all make your decisions. RHO is a great truck. This TRX is a great truck. Whatever fits your budget. But as far as comfort and driving down the highway and your capability, I mean, the trucks are pretty much a match besides the price difference. So if you haven't went out and drove an RHO, I definitely recommend it. Even if you can't go drive a TRX right now and you're wanting to buy a TRX, go drive that RHO and drive a level 1. And there's a lot of things in a level 1 that a lot of people don't think are different. The level 0 has a smaller screen. It doesn't have the passenger screen. It doesn't have reclined seats in the back. It doesn't have the massage seats. It doesn't have the hands-free driving. I'm not sure if it has the digital rearview mirror. I don't think it does. So, when you get to the level 1 level in the RHO, you get all of the things that this TRX has as a base, right? And the power tailgate, it seems silly, but like my daughter puts her stuff in the bed every day, and I can literally just push that button, put the tailgate down for her, and then I can push that button and it picks the tailgate up. And then there's an indicator light in the dash that shows me that it's open or closed. And it's some conveniences like that you just get used to. And it's like, I don't want to not have that, and you look at the competitor truck and the tailgate doesn't come up and you're like, you got to get out, close it. I know it sounds a little bitty, and the massage seats and the hands-free driving, is really where it's at. If I were to tell you, I take these trucks to Tennessee from Texas, we go to Florida. I mean, we drive these things everywhere. I do 1,200-mile trips, and the hands-free driving, and my wife has the Hummer with the hands-free driving also. But this is the one I feel like I trust the most and I can relax the most. But like, you get on I-10 and you set the cruise control, you literally, the only time I'm driving this truck is when I need to put the blinker on and exit to go to a convenience store to get gas, something like that. But when you're on the interstate, you're in hands-free mode. It's so nice to be able to kind of relax, turn the massage seat on, put that heat on. If you're old like me, even a 100-degree day, I run the heat, run the massage seat. It feels amazing. You can just sit and chill, and it feels like you're in a luxury vehicle. And for me, that's where, like I said, the RHO really shines for a 70-something thousand, $80,000 truck. You get all of those features. And so anyway, but yeah, I'll keep doing some stuff and talking about the RHO a little bit more. But anyway, I guess that's about it, man. I'll close this out, guys. Like I said, hopefully my tires come in tomorrow. They were supposed to be here the day before yesterday, but I've got my speedometer calibrated. Oh, the other thing is now if you have an RHO or you have a TRX, I wasn't sure if the TRX was going to let me do it, but went in to the dealer yesterday, and your dealer can go in and we buy a contract. And I did it on my RHO. You can only do it in half-inch increments. You can get a 36 and a half, 37, 37 and a half. And you buy the contract, they submit it. And I think it was like 150 or 160, something like that you pay for them to do this. And then what it does is actually puts that tire size on your VIN in the system. And then basically it'll reflash your BCM. And when it reflashes the BCM, then your tire size is corrected and you're good to go. It's like mine right now, I'm corrected for 37s. So it's reading fast. Like when I'm doing 78, it shows like 83 or 84. Tomorrow when I get my tires on, it's going to be 100% accurate with 37s. And so it is nice that you can get that contract now and you can have an accurate speedometer. So if you're running an RHO with 37s, you can go to your dealer, you can get that done, you can get the tire size done, you're good to go. So just a heads up. Some of the dealers may not know how to go in there and do it. They have to go into their system, and then they can go to like service contracts. And then there's another tab to build the contract. And then once they click that, there'll be a tire size calibration. And then they can literally go down and click whatever tire size you want. I think it goes up to 38s on the 25s or something like that. And it doesn't disable anything else. It works perfect. Like your speedometer, your heads-up display, everything is right. And I compared it to Waze, and I'm less than 1 mile an hour off with 37s. So anyway, hope that helps. All right, guys, we're going to close this out. I will try to get a build video out tomorrow when you get it complete. We'll do a full walk around. We'll talk about everything, leveling kit, bed cover, everything, why I use it, and show you the features on all the stuff that I purchased. So Anyway, but thanks again for watching. Hope the video helped y'all today. If y'all got any more questions, drop them below. I'll still come back to this video and try to answer them. And anyway, thanks again for the likes. Thanks for the subscribes, y'all. Channel's up to 320, 330,000, something like that. So it's pretty crazy how large this thing's gotten. But appreciate each one of you, each and every one of you, for being here. And I'm also going to try to get a little bit more Ford content. They've got some new Super Duties here in town. We're going to go shoot some videos on those and take a look at those. There's some new features that were added for the 27s. And so we're going to talk about some of those things too. So anyway, appreciate it. Catch y'all on the next one.